Good morning, guys. Welcome to Read With Me. We are on NTI Day 8. Yay! This week we're focusing on fiction texts. That means that it is made up. So, as we're reading, I want you to think about who the characters are, the setting, the plot, the problem, solution, those kind of things. We also have two different types of fiction texts. You may have non-realistic, which are like fantasy kind of text, things that you know could not really happen in real life. And then you also have realistic text, okay? So that's another thing that you want to be thinking about as you're reading fiction text. All right, so today we're going to be reading Squeak the Skater Goes Surfing. All right, so legend has it that Lincoln Elementary School once had a student named Stephen James, and I'm going to do my best here, Squeakenheimer Stoffen. Now I probably know why they called him Squeak. He was a very popular boy and different from everyone else. Even though Squeak had a one of a kind last name, it was not actually what made him so well known. By the time he was halfway through kindergarten, his teacher grew tired of calling out Squeakenheimer Stoffen each time she took attendance. So she decided to shorten his name to just Squeak. The nickname stuck, and everyone went around calling him Squeak. His ability to ride a skateboard like no other is what made him famous at school and in his town. However, it was not until he accepted the challenge of surfing that he would become a hero. When Squeak entered the fifth grade, he was already a whiz at riding a skateboard. Every day he would be outside pushing himself to do better, crazier tricks. One of the best places in town to do so was in the playground of his very own school, so he spent a lot of his time there. This gave all of his classmates a chance to watch him get better at skateboarding day after day. While on his board, he'd hop up onto any railing he could find and fly off any surface, too. Squeak quickly learned how to do 360-degree turns in the air and how to flip his legs up to the sky while keeping the board against his feet with one arm and holding his whole body upside down with his other arm. The crowd of classmates would cheer him on, especially when he performed a new stunt for the very first time. The school's principal did not mind that Squeak got so much attention from participating in a sport that was a little bit dangerous. Squeak always wore his protective gear, a helmet, knee pads, and elbow guards. He also kept his grades up, proving he was really a great role model for the other students. After one particular weekend, when Squeak took home 5 gold medals in a skateboarding competition, he thought to himself that he might want to give something new a try. Squeak was basically bored. He loved skateboarding and would never stop. He was completely certain about that. However, anytime Squeak would compete against other skilled skateboarders, he would win, hands down. He needed something new to push him. After seeing a video on the internet of some amazing surfers, he knew what challenge he wanted to take on next. Surfing is perfect for me, he told his parents at Sunday dinner while trying to get them to pay for lessons. Besides, he added with a heap of confidence, it's just like skateboarding. Squeak's parents agreed to pay for some surfing lessons for their son. They hired a man named Troy Mason to teach him. Troy had been in international competitions when he was young and was rather famous in the surfing world. He was a little bit older now and could not compete against the youngsters who were taking over the sport. So he decided he should teach those young kids how to surf the right way. Squeak knew in his mind that he would find surfing success. He had dreamt of going out in the ocean on his very first day and doing flips and spins as if he were on a skateboard, and the waves were just like the rails in his schoolyard. Squeak would soon find out, though, that surfing may look similar to skateboarding, but it is quite different. After 45 minutes of his first lesson with Troy, Squeak had failed to balance himself on his new surfboard for more than a second or two. Of course, the board was slippery, which caused problems for Squeak. On top of that, unlike the pavement underneath his skateboard that never moved, the water never stopped moving, causing him to fall time and time again. You'll get it, kid, Troy said to him, trying to encourage Squeak after seeing the frustration on Squeak's face. And I can relate to that. Don't you worry about a thing. You just need to keep coming out here into the water with me to practice, same as what you did with your skateboard. Squeak thanked Troy for that and indeed showed up for each of his lessons, ready to try and learn surfing over the course of the next few weeks. It was just the challenge he needed. Squeak realized that he certainly wasn't bored with surfing. Throughout his fourth lesson with Troy, Squeak was finally making some progress. He could stand on the board and direct it a little bit left and a little bit right. Keep up the good work, said Troy. Let's head back to the beach and get some milkshakes. Troy turned around and swam in the direction of the beach. Squeak wanted to keep on surfing and try staying on his board a little longer. Suddenly, Squeak heard someone yelling from way over his left hand side in the water. Help! Help! The man said. Squeak saw that the man was drowning, but no one else had seen or heard him. The lifeguard must have just switched spots, and Troy was headed in the opposite direction. Ooh. Squeak concentrated as hard as he could and hopped on his board, taking a wave right over to the man who called for help. It was the longest time Squeak had spent balanced on his surfboard yet. Squeak got over to him in a jiffy and put his arm under the other man's. They used his board to float on it to the beach, where a crowd gathered. Finally, the lifeguard saw what was happening and jumped in to help too. By the time Squeak and the man he'd helped got back to the beach, Troy was waiting along with a crowd of people. Troy, Squeak squealed, did you see me? I surfed. I really surfed. I saw you surf, said Troy, but the more important thing is you saved that drowning man. You're a hero. From then on, Squeak was known more for his surfing than his skateboarding. All right, guys. So that story had a nice little ending. All right. So on your multiple choice questions, you want to make sure that you read over all the answer choices before circling your answer. Go back and underline the support found in the text and use the strategy slash and trash process of elimination to narrow down your answers. So the climax of the story, the climax is that most exciting part, that part where you kind of get a little bit on edge, or you think about, oh no, what is the character going to do? Most of the time, the main character is going to be the one that is going to be involved in that climax. So keep that in mind as you answer question 2. And let's see. I think you guys will be fine on the others. Okay. And your short answer, like always, make sure that you restate completely. You put your answer RA, and then you underline the C from the text. Number 10 is actually wanting to know what the C is. Support your answer with evidence from the passage. So number 10, you're going to have to underline the C, but then also include that C in your answer whenever you write it down. All right, guys, so that is today's text. Remember, we're focusing on fiction texts, so this is a story, and I want you all to think about, could this story really happen? Or is this something that would be fantasy or non-realistic and could not really happen? So keep that in mind as you're reading, and I will see you guys in my next video tomorrow. And just a reminder, I will